Hello boys and girls, 10.2 is announced, the PTR is up, so there are a lot of changes and a lot of topics to talk about, and of course healing is one of the main topics because it is getting changed again. Now you can look into this blue post, I have the link in the description of this video, and what they're basically talking about here is that healers, I guess, are too powerful, and they want to change the playstyle of healing to make you single target heal more and use less of your AoE heal abilities by nerfing them a little bit and buffing the single target spell healing, as well as some mana changes, trying to make the mana more relevant so you can make more meaningful choices while healing. So one of the sentences here says, single target healing spells currently do not feel like they move the health bar enough. We want these heals to be impactful and have a purpose, so hope this makes healing in M+ dungeon less stressful for healers. Now, this is, I can see the direction they're going to and the thought process behind this, but this is going to be a good change because apparently they're trying to make things better. This is only going to be a good change if they make the design of the dungeon so that you can make meaningful choices by single target healing and not using your AoE spells. Because right now, the design and the healing profile of the dungeons is such that everybody's taking damage, so you have to use your AoE spells, and it doesn't even make sense to use single target healing spells unless you're in specific certain situations where usually you can actually dispel or the whatever skill you have in order to deal with the mechanic. I'm talking about the third boss, let's say in Udaman, the last boss in Udaman, etc. So this is going to work only if they implement it correctly and they make it so that the mechanics and the healing profile of the dungeons kind of supplements this change. Otherwise, I don't think this is going to end up well, but we have to wait and see. Keep in mind that this is very early days. A lot of things are going to change, and this is very vague. There's nothing concrete at this point, although you can see some of the healing changes, some of the spells that are getting modified, and they are definitely buffing the single target healing. However, we don't know how this is going to impact the raid and the dungeons because we don't know what the profile of the fights there is going to be. The other big thing is that the tier set bonuses are revealed for every class and every spec, and I'm going to go over quickly on the main healers that I play, which are Monk, Paladin, and Shaman. And the rest are also interesting. Of course, everything is subject to change, and it seems that most of them are targeting M+, kind of, sort of. Now, starting with the Mistweaver, Renewing Mist and its jumps apply Chi Harmony, increasing its target's healing taken from you by 50% for 8 seconds, and then the 4-set bonus is 15% of the healing you do to targets with Chi Harmony is stored and then dispersed evenly among your allies with Renewing Mist when Chi Harmony fades or is refreshed. Now, this is actually quite powerful in my mind, probably especially in raid, because you are basically spreading your Renewing Mists, and once you cast it or it jumps to somebody else, that person is taking 50% more healing from you for 8 seconds. That's actually a lot. So it's going to store a bit of this healing, and once it expires, I think the buff, yeah, it's 8 seconds, right? So in 8 seconds, this healing is basically going to be released and heal even more. So it is definitely a healing complement. There's no damage component in the set bonus, but it sounds interesting. It's not going to change the playstyle a lot, and it's just going to provide more HPS throughput to the Mistweaver, which is also getting buffed on some aspects based on some of the skills. So this is definitely an interesting tier set that I'm going to test as soon as I have the chance. Now, going to the Paladin. Paladin is a little bit more interesting. So, when Glimmer of Light dissipates or is refreshed, it creates a Holy Reverberation on its target to heal an ally or damage an enemy for some amount over 8 seconds. Multiple Holy Reverberations may overlap up to 3 times. And then the 4-set bonus is cooldown of Daybreak is reduced by 15 seconds. Now, this sounds a bit weird because basically the gameplay, the game style is going to be refreshing Glimmer of Light on the targets, so they get that little hot or that little dot. That may sound not very effective, especially combined with Daybreak, because Daybreak basically counts on you spreading your Glimmers of Light to more targets, and the 2-set bonus is making you cast the Holy Shock and keep the Glimmer of Lights on the same targets. But if you think about the rest of the skills, let's say Divine Toe, this basically is going to apply Glimmer to all targets or reapply it eventually, or even the Daybreak, which empowers your Holy Shock, so you become basically a Holy Shotgun, casting 3 Holy Shocks on the same target. This is going to trigger that tier set bonus. So it's a very interesting tier set, and it's also has a damaging component, which is not true for many of the other sets. So I'm kind of interested to see how this plays out eventually. The 4 set bonus, I guess it's a bit boring because it doesn't add much. It's just 15 seconds reduction to Daybreak, which is going to make it the same cooldown length as Divine Toe. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out and how this changes. It is going to be a bit more powerful, I think, in M+, because you have less targets there, so you're more likely to cast Holy Shock and basically trigger Glimmers on the same targets, while in Raid, you're more focused on spreading them. But we'll see how that turns out. This is more of a M+ tier set for me, not only because of that, but also because it has a damaging component. And then let's jump down to my favorite Restoration Shaman. Now this is also interesting. Chain Heal, Healing Surge, and Healing Wave mark their initial target with a Tidal Reservoir, causing them to receive 15% of all Riptide healing you deal for 10 seconds. And then the 4 set is Riptide's healing is increased by 15% if Riptide is active on the same target as Tidal Reservoir. Its heal over time effect has a 10% chance to create a new Riptide on a nearby ally. So this is basically focusing on you spreading as many Riptides as possible, and then once you cast your single healing target spells or the initial target of Chain Heal, then you're basically going to be healing those targets for additional amount, and then also you have a chance to spread even more Riptides, which is going to heal even more the targets that have the Tidal Reservoir. This sounds maybe a little bit more of a Raid tier set, because first, it doesn't have a damaging component, so for M+, it's not that interesting from that perspective. And then, I guess it is a bit more of a healing to put in HPS. We might even see, depending on how this is tuned and how good it is, we might even see the Tidal talent that spreads the Riptides replace the High Tide that we're using right now. We'll see how that turns out. Not really excited about this, but it is something, right? It is going to give us more HPS, and also it might change the playstyle a little bit, because you would like to spread more Riptides eventually, especially when you have to heal a lot of people. But overall, it's also, I guess, focused on making you single target healing more, using healing surges and healing waves on different targets. But we'll see also how that turns out. As I said, all of this is subject to change, and we'll see how the profile of the dungeons is, so that you can basically heal different targets to spread more Tidal Reservoirs, etc., and get more value out of this tier set bonus. Alright, so I guess more to come, of course, in the days ahead. There's going to be more information released and more updates to the PTR. Let me know what you think about those bonuses and about the healing change in general. I have links to those articles in the description of this video. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, happy healing and take care.